How's it going, New World? Sethphir here, and winter has finally come. We have the official release date for the Winter Convergence Festival patch, which will be the PTR client. As you know, should be patch 1.2. Maybe they'll name it something different. Who knows? But whatever it is, we got it, and it's finally out. Twitter had just tweeted out from Play New World that this patch would be here, and they redirected us to this post. So I'll go ahead and link in the description the Twitter post, as well as this link to their official website that will give you all the details on the December update for the Winter Convergence Festival. So with that being said, this is going to be my thoughts and impressions, and we'll read through here. We'll skip over some of the stuff that we already know, as we have known about these patch notes for a while, but it's nice to see some confirmations on everything. So we'll go ahead and start checking this out here. It looks like we got a spotlight. So the Winter Convergence Festival is the spotlight of it. It just says the holiday of Winter Convergence is upon Aeternum, marked by the appearance of the increased snowfall and northern lights in the sky. It is a time of duality, as the Winter Wanderer and Winter Warrior have come to the land. Icy winds with the Winter Warder bring them new armor, weapons, furnishings, skins, consumables, and delightful present gifting emote. So a lot of great stuff there. You can learn more about the Winter Convergence Festival and everything it has to offer by going to the event page, which you can click here. So I'll have that description, or that link in the description down below. You can go ahead and check that one out. But there's going to be a lot of cool stuff like Convergent Spirit decorations, Lost Present recovery, Gleamite collecting, which is those meteors falling from the sky, and dangerous ice caves and festive loot, which we talked about in a few of our videos for the PTR. So nice to see all of that content here, and this is the important part. The Winter Convergence Festival will last in Aeternum from December 16th to January 11th. So that means that the December 16th is the confirmed launch date. I don't know if we have a time, but it is going to be the 16th nonetheless. My guess is that it will be down early in the morning and then come up sometime around noon or something like that. So that's most likely what it's going to be. Then it talks a little bit about the ice caves that are going to be in Aeternum. They're going to be lasting even when the Winter Warrior event festival is going or gone, and so those are going to be like a permanent part of Aeternum. Then we have the in-game update section. A couple cool graphics. I really like this little Yeti guy up here as well. But we'll go ahead and scroll down here. So based on the feedback for the high watermark system, they wanted to change some stuff for the in-game and make it more diverse. So they're going to rename that high watermark system into Expertise, as we talked about in a lot of our videos. Expertise now has a value being displayed in the UI, so that's really nice. Each slot on the character model in the inventory will display what the expertise level of that slot is, and then we also got a bunch of goodies about how it interacts with gear score, so that's fantastic to add there. They're also adding the new system called Gypsum, which we have many videos on as well, and that can be acquired by doing the day-to-day activities. So it's just something like do a little bit of everything. Like, hey guys, do some outpost rush, do a little bit of arenas, do some corrupted breaches, kill some random named bosses in the world, and do a dungeon, right? Like, just do a little bit of everything, and then you'll get like a guaranteed upgrade to spend in the Gypsum Kiln, which you can kind of select a Gypsum cast of any weapon or armor or trinket type, and then it will bump your expertise up or your gear score high watermark. So we know the drill, and we know how that goes. There it has the list of all the different types of gypsum, which is fantastic. Talks about the gypsum kiln and the system that is used for, but if you want that complete guide, once again, feel free to check out some of the other videos we have. Literally everything's on there. So as we scroll through, they increase the rewards for expeditions as well. I do like that. In addition to the gypsum drops, an expedition boss will give a guaranteed expertise drop, which is what we were talking about. The arena bosses are the same way. So that means that Garden of Genesis and Lazarus Instrumentality is going to be crazy. You're going to be getting so many good items from these things. They also added that timeless shard system that we were talking about, which basically allows you to pick a guaranteed stat and a guaranteed perk, which is going to be phenomenal to see, as well as two new point of interests, the Malevolence Zone and the Imperial Palace Zone, which we kind of went through and explored. A lot of cool stuff that have been added into there. I do see that they now has 6 elite chests, so I don't know if it did before. Maybe there's like one extra, but I was about to see that was about what I found there too, was 6, so that comes into play there. And then they increased the level of in-game corrupted breaches to 66. That's interesting. I didn't know about that one. So that means that the portals are going to be harder for the in-game one. They made a number of adjustments to in-game difficulty to compensate for some of the accidental overtuning. I remember that November patch scaled all of the monsters in Mirrorguard and in Sirens up just like super cracked, so like their HP bars were insane. So it's nice to see that being lowered back to a middle ground a little bit. They also adjusted the difficulty of Mirrorguard and some of the mobs there, and they added a few elite chests in the area, so that's pretty good to see. Ebon Scale got some adjustments and some changes, as well as the Imperial Palace area. It is vastly different. Imperial Palace is crazy. There's like 2 bosses sitting next to each other. It's insane. I'm definitely excited to see on that area. And then they have a couple other small adjustments to some of the POIs and reducing the difficulty of these like named boss mobs that got super buffed and weren't really supposed to be. So that's great all in all. Next we'll go on to the World Experience category. So they have quests. They have a few quest additions here, improvements made to the new story, the main story, and added supplemental territory quests. So there's more territory quests in Morningdale and Restless Shore, which are going to be the 2 areas that are like special with the Winter Festival here. So there's supposed to be something going on in those 2 areas, so make sure to get in there and check that out. Now they have new housing quests as well. That's new. So 7 new quests that can be unlocked as players progress into territory standing. And these quests will allow you to assist an idealistic architect as he undertakes a bold mission to construct new houses in the wilds of Aeternum. Wow, this is crazy. The architect will extol the virtues of home ownership and reward players with new furniture and decor. So that's a really cool one. I didn't know about that. So that's going to be nice to see and explore. So those of you that are really into decorating your homes and trying to get that top score, this is going to be something for you. Looks like there's areas in First Light, Everfall, Monarchs, and Windsward to get started for that, so that's definitely something nice to check out. And then they had a few quest fixes along the way, so that's great all in all. Next, we're going to move on to combat and AI. Looks like they're going to be adjusting the way that the PvP damage formula is going to happen. We were talking about this before. The crit damage was being multiplicative rather than additive. They are changing that, so they adjusted the way armor mitigation was calculated to use the enemy's gear score value instead of your own average gear score. That was a scaling system that was put into place to help people, I guess, that were lower level, challenged level 60 players with high armor or something, but they're kind of mitigating that or getting rid of that, and I think it's good because it was causing a lot of wonky interactions, like people were doing more damage with worse armor, or best armor was not actually the best. It would be better for you to just put on lower armor in some cases, and that was just all kinds of odd, so I'm glad that that's out of there and fixed. To adjust for the damage difference in the armor mitigation, they increased the damage that low-level players do to high-level players, so just trying to bump it up to make it a little bit fair so you can't get camped by 60, which is fine, that's okay. And they reduced the damage that high-level players deal to low-level players, so you still got that form of leveling player progression scaling there, so we can protect some of our newer players, which is good. We do want to protect our newer players, but we also want our armor formulas to make sense in the end game and do what they say they do, right? Like, there's a good balance to that. So the crit damage here, the crit damage from the perks are now additive instead of multiplicatively. We went over that, so it should reduce the damage they provide by a good amount, so you can be getting hit less hard now, which is definitely decent. And then buffer windows, they changed the way some dodges and abilities and attacks function. I noticed a little bit into it on the PTR, so hopefully that makes things more smooth, especially when weapon swapping is coming into play. Please, developers, fix weapon swapping. We don't need an animation to pull out our weapon. It's so bad and clunky. Just get rid of the animation. Let us swap instantly so that we can be on the right weapon that we want to use and not have this funkiness going on. So it looks like they have some fixes with the dodges and the directional inputs, as well as the interaction with things when you hit roots like Ice Shower and stuff like that. Couple of changes to the perks. We saw this in the patch notes before on the PTR. We were talking about that. We have those new perk series coming into the game. We also have a guide covering all the new perks that are coming in, and it looks like the final result is exactly as was listed with the most recent post that one of the developers put on the forums. So you can see all the new perks and the values there. The video will also talk about every single perk and what I think about it, like how good I think it is and how it will change and shape the meta. So make sure to check that one out. Moving on, we have some Outpost Rush fixes, just minor buffs and adjustments to stop people from like getting over gates and walls and stuff. And then we have Miscellaneous. Using a consumable will now cancel aiming, just some little quality of life things, right? And then we're going to move on to weapons. There are a few weapons that have increases to a lot of things. The Rapier's heavy attacks recovery time is getting reduced, so you're going to be able to get back into action faster when you do heavy attacks, and that's going to be the same for a lot of these abilities. We have the Warhammer getting that Path of Destiny nerf, as well as the bow getting some adjustments on the way some of its talents behave and work. Nothing too much though, but heavy attacks across the board. And also, I think the Sword and Shield received reduced heavy attack time. It's weird that they list that amount for that one, but not the other one, which is a little bit odd. But the biggest notes for nerfs here is probably going to be the Great Axe, which is going to be talking about that base crit damage being lowered on the Great Axe because it was doing a little bit too much, as well as reduced haste and reduced damage on Reap. And also the most important change, probably this light attack heavy lunge, 4.5 meters to 3.5 meters is going to change the way that Great Axe behaves in wars especially, so players are going to have to be a little bit more cautious on that. They also lowered the Scream perk for the healing reduction from 50 to 30%, and I think the reason they did that is because of the Plagued perk series coming in. It's going to add additional reduction in healing values, and they probably don't want it to go too high or make the perk series irrelevant. And then Spear also gets a lot more interesting buffs, more lunge distance for the skewer hit, as well as the increase the hit shape size and attack and homing on all thrust attacks, as well as some of the heavy attack abilities being reduced there, so it's going to be quite nice. Definitely a fan of the Spear coming into this patch. Then we have some general AI adjustments and Expedition AI adjustments. It just looks like tuning to increase some of the scaling on the dungeons as well. So that's not too bad all in all. Next, we'll move on to the economy and progression in loot section. This is the trade skill aptitude system. We also have a guide talking about this. I feel like I'm just saying we also have a guide talking about this a lot because, well, we do. We've been doing nothing but living on this PTR. So we have all kinds of guides for everything. But essentially, it's just going to be a new system. Whenever you hit 200 skill in something, you will start earning experience past 200 skill and get an aptitude counter, which will scale up. It'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up into however high it can go, which I think is infinity. And every time you hit a tick of that skill aptitude counter, you will get a box with some goodies related to your profession in it. There's all kinds of great stuff in there, as well as 600 gear score guaranteed recipes that can be found in these boxes. So it is going to be a sure popular demand here coming up in the future, so make sure to check that one out. Refining has the same way, same thing for the trade skill aptitude, as well as some adjustments of being able to convert 250 of a tier 5 material into a legendary material for that profession. So make sure to check that one out, as it will be a great alternative to farming a lot of these materials, or just give you more quantity for the legendary materials overall. Next, they have loot, which is just going to add a few small quality of life, I guess, cosmetic items and rings for the low-level stuff. But the big change is going to be here. Added tier 5 amulet ring and earring drops that randomly roll all stats and gear score to all level 60 plus content. And previously, there was no trinkets dropping at the tier. So this should allow you to get your trinket expertise, like ring, earring, jewelry, or amulet. All that stuff is going to go up now. That was usually the chokehold on people's watermarks before, but it should definitely be very high. And then it looks like they added a couple other updates with like shields and various things, as well as some incorrect names on items and abilities on items. So all of those have been equipped into the thing. Oh, look at it. More feminine armor appearances have been added to the game as world drops. Okay, interesting. So some different diversity there. I like that. Crafting, it looks like they moved the corrupted shards and lodestones as required. We remove the corrupted shards and lodestone as required ingredients to craft arena keys and added 5 runestone. We did this to make arena keys not compete for the same resources as expedition keys. What? I wish they would have said something about that. That's ridiculously huge. I probably would have passed over this too. That's insane. So now you don't need to use shards to make keys anymore. You need runestones, which means that runestones are going to be very popular because you can make 5 of these a day, 25. So the price of runestones is going to go up ridiculously large. So this is going to be crazy to see. All right, so moving on, now we have fishing. A couple of fishing adjustments. Just looks like some breakdown in some ingredients coming from fishing and the number of armor items available. Okay, so it's talking about the fishing armor upgrades. They have those perks on them, so that's interesting to see too. A few notable bug fixes dealing with faction and mana pots, as well as the Void Gauntlet, some outpost rush stuff, and some dungeon things as well. You can read through those if you want, but we'll move on to some other things. A couple of UI system fixes, social fixes, loading screen fixes, and then the PTR notes down at the bottom. So this is going to be the official PTR notes. The following notes were added or changed as a direct result of internal testing and players submitted feedback in the PTR, and thanks to everyone that participated. So it looks like we have some changes for the Winter Convergence Festival. Each day, the first 3 interactions with the Tree of Light and settlements will grant presents that will also grant a lockbox with a gift of appreciation for participating in the festivities. And the daily interactions with the Tree of Light have a rare chance to drop an event, weapon, and armor patterns as well. So that's really nice to see. I like that. As with any container, luck does not apply, so no worries about putting on your full luck set for that. The update also follows up with the new type of gypsum, that diamond gypsum, which comes from doing the winter activities. So you can get 3 of those and get an extra gypsum every day. So that's going to be very nice to see. They reduced the cost of crafting those gypsum orbs from 100 coins to 2.5. Yeah, it was going to be crazy. I remember when we first did the testing, everybody was like, oh my gosh, those costs, how are we going to afford that? But they listened, they reduced it down to pretty much nothing, so that's going to be really nice to see coming in there, so everybody can keep their hard-earned gold into their own pockets. They also reduced the cooldown on that Topaz Attunement Potion from a weekly to now a daily, and then they reduced the timers on the Gypsum from 22 to 18 hours to let you have a little bit more flexibility with when you do things. There's also a minimum and maximum gear bump for expertise increases. The minimum is 2 and the maximum is 5, and they're hoping that it will give you about 35 maximum gear bumps to get that expertise from 500 to 600. The gypsum is also now earned by completing the event rather than opening the box, because some people are trying to stockpile their boxes and all that jazz, so that's good to see as it kind of helped everything there. Then it's talking about the perks and the adjustment values. When it first started off, the Plagued Crits thing was like 50% healing reduction. It was crazy, but they tuned it down, and it's definitely a lot more in line now, and they got rid of a couple of things that would be a little bit decent, as well as buffing a lot of the tool perks that were coming in. The speed increases here, they used to be pretty low, now they're a lot higher, so that's nice to see there. Then they have a few more bug fixes along the way, as well as some quality of life improvements for the bow and the ice gauntlet and the spear, so that's going to be nice. And I think that's going to be wrapping it up all in all, just a few other minor things in general fixed here and there. But I think this is going to be a fantastic patch. I'm excited. We finally have the launch date, December 16th, so that's going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to getting in here, enjoying the Winter Convergence Festival activities. I'm going to do the storyline immediately. I'm going to start collecting those winter tokens and getting my free luck weapons and the cosmetics coming from the store, the little shop from the Yeti. There's like a rabbit pet, there's a winter coat, and all kinds of cool things to decorate your house with. So that's definitely going to be exciting. Getting in and seeing these ice caves and the new boss monsters that were within the ice caves will be really cool to see, as well as the 2 new end-game point of POIs, which is going to be Malevolence and Guardian of Genesis. or sorry, not Guardian of Genesis, Malevolence and Imperial Palace, which are going to be 66 zones now, so that's definitely going to change everything. And of course, we're going to have a lot of fun with the new Gypsum, Expertise, and Trade Skill Aptitude systems, as well as the Timeless Shard system. So there's going to be tons of things to do in New World right now. This is exactly what we needed, and this is going to come at not a better time because it's right here for Christmas. It's going to be on time, so that's going to be fantastic and wonderful. So all in all, I think this will be a great patch for the game. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell. We also have a join button down below if you're interested in becoming a member today, and we have a Discord in the description link where you can check out the group and just kind of ask us some questions. Maybe you just want to hang out, talk with people about New World, whatever that may be. Thanks for watching the video. We appreciate your time, and we will catch you in the next one.